Alright guys, today I wanted to show you this Brother SE700. So this is a combination sewing and embroidery machine. So if you're looking to get into embroidery or just needing the convenience of a two-in-one, this may be the right one for you. So I'm going to show you what it comes with today, all the features, how it works, including a demonstration of a couple projects to show you a step-by-step demonstration of the embroidery process. Alright, so first I'm going to show you the physical features, the physical buttons. So right front and center, there is that start and stop button. Of course, that's going to be for the embroidery, but you can actually use that for the sewing mode as well. Right above that is the reverse button. Using this button here, you can set the needle to end above the fabric or within the fabric, but you can also use it as an automatic up and down for that needle as well. Right next to that is the automatic thread cutter. To the right of that is the sewing speed adjuster. So you can slide that to the right and left to change the maximum speed of the pedal. Coming around to the left-hand side, you have your precision wheel. This is also where you're going to be able to turn it on and off and where you connect the power and the pedals. Right here at the top, this is where you're going to be able to load your bobbin. This is where you can place your spool of thread. And also you'll see that handle for your convenience right behind it. This is your thread tension dial here. And then off to the side here, you're gonna see an automatic needle threader. So that's pretty awesome. That's one of my favorite features. And then the manual thread cutter right below it. At the back of the sewing unit, you'll also see the ability to change the feed dog position. So you can switch from the standard sewing mode to more of a freehand mode. And then you'll see here, you're gonna have the accessories compartment as well. And you can pull this out real easily, of course, to make it easier to sew pant legs and sleeves and whatnot. All right, speaking of the accessories, this does come with a bunch of different accessories, including extra needles of different sizes, all the different feet that you may need for the various fabrics you'll be sewing. All you need to provide would be your own thread. All right, but that's the basic standard features. Definitely has everything you need to get started. So let's take a look at how to operate this machine now using this LED display. All right, guys, so of course there's going to be the screen itself, which is touchscreen, but you're also going to have all these buttons here that you can physically press. So let's talk about that first row real quick. So basically this button here is going to allow you to go back to whatever previous screen you were on. That works together with these guys, the left and right buttons. So as you can see, when I press it, it'll change the page. You'll see up here at the top right, the number of pages will be the bottom number and the page that you're on is the top number. So you just press this guy and it'll scroll through. This is a safety button essentially. If you press this, you won't be able to do anything else. So that's basically going to allow you to change the needle and the presser foot without risking yourself getting hurt. To deactivate that, you just press that button again. So the bottom left, that's going to be your sewing mode button right here, and then your embroidery button here. So let's just work with these two real quick. So this button right here is going to be your settings mode. So you can see here, you can change various settings just to make it work the way you like. So let's just kind of scroll through real quick to see what options you have. So for example, being able to change the initial position. This is where you can tell it which frame you're using. As you can see, a lot of different options. So for example, the needle position up and down, you can change that here as well. Turn the sounds on and off, change the language, turn the light on and off. You can even change the input sensitivity of the buttons here. And on page 9, you can set up the Wi-Fi, and that's going to allow you to transfer designs from the app to here to give you a lot more choices for the embroidery. You can change your sewing machine name here on page 10, check for updates on 11, and on page 12 is where you can register for the app. All right, and the last button here is your help menu. So if you click on that, it's gonna have pictures basically showing the different processes that you would need to go through to set up your machine. For example, here, this is gonna show you how to change the presser foot, and you just follow the instructions, scroll through the steps using the right arrow. All right, but let's go ahead and go into sewing mode. So here we are right here. You have your various options with your utility stitches up here and your more decorative ones down here. But let's just go and click into this one here. And on the main screen, you're gonna see your various choices. And again, keep in mind that there are 5 total pages, so you can go ahead and scroll through to choose the exact one that you want. With each one, you'll see up here telling you the presser foot to use, and then this is kind of a preview of what it's going to look like. Up here, of course, you can change the width and the length, and you're going to do that by pressing on this button here. You can change it just like that. At the bottom here, you press that button for automatic reverse. That way you don't have to hold the button down. And then this will be an automatic thread cutter, so whenever you stop, it'll cut the thread for you. All right, but that's the basics of the sewing mode and how to use the LED display. So now let's switch over to the embroidery side of things and start working on some projects and show you exactly how to do that step by step. All right, guys, so with embroidery, of course, it's gonna be done by the machine itself, and that's exactly what this thing right here is for. This is gonna move the thread needle up and down, and this to the left and right to get the needle exactly where it needs to go. All you have to really do, make sure you turn off the machine, and it's super simple. Take that out and then go ahead and put this in, and you're ready to go. All right guys, so we have our embroidery unit in. So I did just want to take a minute to kind of talk about the basics of embroidery in case you're new to it. So with embroidery, you want to keep the fabric in place as much as you can and keep it taut. And that's essentially what this guy is for. So you're going to place the cloth over the outer ring, and then you would basically use the inner ring to clamp it down, and then you use this to tighten things further. Now I do also highly recommend getting a stabilizer, which is basically just a non-stretchy fabric that you can easily purchase. And essentially you would put this in first, and then put the fabric over that. So the stabilizer and the hoop work together to basically keep the fabric in place to give you the most professional looking product. All right, so first go ahead and get things loose by doing this. Go ahead and place your stabilizer in there, and then next your fabric right over it. And then you'll take your inner loop and place it within there to keep everything in place. And you basically want this to be as taut as drum skin. So what you would do is pull on the corners to get things to stretch out. Once you're kind of happy with that, go ahead and tighten things back up. And then you would just take this guy, hook it up to the machine. We can go ahead and just slide this under the needle, and this just clicks into place real easily right over here. And there you go. All right guys, so here we are looking at the embroidery screen. So again, you just press that button to get to it. And then you'll see 5 main buttons, of course, corresponding to the different designs. Again, just press on the screen and you have 9 pages in total. So you can just scroll through, choose exactly which one you like, and go from there. So I'll just kind of show you a quick preview of all the different designs available to you. This second button on the main page is exclusive to Brother, so you'll only get that with this machine. Now you'll see 2 text options here. So this one is just for the single letter designs. So those are just basic characters here. Now you can write words, and that is what this one is for. You can create your own lettering. And as you can see, you can go ahead and type things in. So let's see, we're gonna use the word very appropriately. We're gonna use test. And here are the numbers and special characters here as well. And then you can go ahead and just click set. All right, so here is where you're going to be able to manipulate the text. So you can go ahead and press rotate, and you can rotate it that way. When you click on size, you can enlarge. You can just press and hold down. You can make it smaller. You can even shorten it the vertical way or the horizontal way using these, and then wider and thinner here. And then here you have the ability, again, to change the size. And then you can even move it, so you can do that or do this to make it off center. And you can actually go ahead and just click and drag on the screen itself to move it. This is where you can change the color. Now, with this being one color, you can literally just choose whichever thread that you want, so you don't necessarily have to go into here. This is more if you have different colors, which I'll show you in a bit. You can actually change the thread density using that button. And then if you go into font edit, you can do a couple more other things. You can actually change it to be multicolor, which is cool. This is what I really like, is the ability to manipulate it so that it's curved. So you have a bunch of different options for that. But let's just stick with that. Here you can spread things out if you'd like. All right, perfect. And then once you're happy with the result, go ahead and just click edit end. And then you can do a final movement here on this last screen. And once you click embroider, that's when you can go ahead and press the start and stop button to get things started. But before you can do all of that, we actually have to thread the machine. All right, so threading the machine is made very easily because, as you can see, there are markings everywhere showing you exactly how you do it. All right, perfect. And then of course you have your bottom thread as well, or the bobbin. So you'll just place it right there, hook it around here, and then you are all set. All right, so with the thread in place, we'll go ahead and re-hoop the machine. So just go ahead and click this back into place, put the press foot down, and press that start button. All right, so after a couple of stitches, I do like to stop it real quick and then just pull out that tail. And that way we can cut it off and it won't sew over itself. All right, let's resume. All right, perfect. So it's done. It's telling us it's finished. We'll click OK. And then we'll press that guy again, take up the presser foot, and we can remove the hoop. Boom. Look at that. Obviously, you will have those jump stitches where it goes between each letter, so all you really need to do for that is cut them off. And then you can clean things up that way. And then this is tearaway stabilizer, so we literally just tear it off. Again, just cut off those jump stitches and you'll have a nice finished embroidery product. All right, guys, so that example was fairly basic, but in the real world, you're probably gonna be dealing with a little more complex stuff. So for example, what if you have a piece of clothing that's gonna be too small to fit inside the hoop, or perhaps a little too thick and large to be able to easily hoop it in? That's where you would use the floating technique, and all that is using a spray adhesive like this one. You would spray that on the stabilizer and then stick the clothing onto that. So it's really easy. I'm gonna show you how simple that is. And for this next design, I'm also gonna choose it from the app to be able to show you exactly all the designs that you can see through there and how that app works. All right, for the spray or the floating technique, the only thing you're gonna hoop is the stabilizer. So go ahead and place that into the frame here and then place this over that. Tighten it like so. And so here I'm going to use the template because I want to be able to make sure that that design goes exactly where I want it. And really what I need the template for is to be able to mark these dots here. Could remove the template. And then we're going to take our hoodie. And what I want to do is place the design right above the pockets here. To do that, we would turn this inside out. All right, so it's inside out and we want that design to go right there. So we would then take that same template and basically line it up where we think the dead center would be. And then I will go ahead then and mark those same holes using this template again. All right, and this is where we would spray the stabilizer and then glue the clothing onto that. So let me go ahead and quickly spray this. Then you'll take your hoodie, basically fold it in half like this to line up the dots, and then apply that here. There you go, just kind of push down. All right, so that's the basic idea. So now that part where the design goes will be stuck onto there, and then we would place this frame onto the machine. Now let's take a look at the app and choose a design, and then I'll show you how to transfer that design onto the machine. All right, so this is the home screen of the app, and at the very bottom there, you'll see kind of the main categories. So the home page, education, you can create new ones, and then my creations and gallery. So let's go through each one of those. Let's save home for last. So looking into education, this is essentially where you can get educational videos about how to do things and various tips and techniques. You can even do a search up there for exactly what you want to learn how to use. At the very top, it's separated into embroidery, sewing machine, cutting and printing, as well as sublimations. So you can even use the same app to learn about the sewing portion of your machine. Let's skip ahead to My Creations. So this is a list of all the designs that you create yourself and that you save, and you can save up to 20 of those. And then Gallery is essentially the social media portion of this app. So at the top left, you can create a profile for yourself. You can create postings using the top right button, and then you can search for posts or specific users using that magnifying glass there in the middle. And then of course, down below all of that, you'll see the posts by other users. All right, so let's go back to home, because home is basically where you're gonna be able to choose already made designs. So at the top, of course, you will see a search button. You can search for various categories like those listed right there. You can even filter using that filter button to the right. So if you only want Disney or if you only want free stuff, you can do that. You can filter by machine type as well, which is really handy. Below that, it'll be categorized into the various machines that you might be using, as well as some project ideas and educational videos there as well. So fairly easy to navigate. And so here's just kind of a quick look at some of the designs that you can take a look at. So here's the animals category, for example, and then you can even go to specific animals like the dolphin or the elephant. Here's a quick look at flowers and then specific types of flowers. And of course, there's that nice search button up there again to search for what you want. But if you have an idea of your own, that's where you would use the new button down at the bottom middle. So let's click into that. Font decorator at the top, that's where you can take a letter and basically make it fancy. So let's say you choose a character, we'll just stick with A, choose a motif or a theme. So we'll choose the plant theme. So you just have a couple choices here, but we'll click done. So we'll click generate to kind of combine those two ideas. All right, there you go. And then you can even customize that further or regenerate it. So you can regenerate to get another sample idea. And then at the bottom, you can change the style even further, as well as change the colors. All right, so that was Font Decorator. Below Design Editor is called Drawing Tools. And this is where, just like it says, you can actually draw your own design. Similar to the Paint program, you can do things like change the thickness and the width of your lines. You can even insert shapes. And then interestingly enough, you can add your own photos. So here's kind of a photo I took from earlier. And you have a very random design, but hopefully that gives you an idea of what you can do with this feature. So the image to embroidery feature, you can take those photos from your photo album. So again, we'll use the same example of the one I took from earlier. And once you choose your photo, you can recrop it like I'm doing here. Click import. At the bottom there, you can choose between digitizing or cross stitch. You can even choose the number of colors to make it look as realistic as you can, all the way up to 20 colors, and then choose remove background. So let's hit preview, and there you go. So you can take your own photos and create designs out of those, which is really, really impressive. All right, but I'm gonna go ahead and use Design Editor to create our design for our hoodie. And then I'm gonna choose seasons because I'm looking for like a maple leaf, and perfect right there, front and center at the top. So we'll go ahead and click maple leaf. So I'm gonna make this bigger because I wanna take up as much of the 4x4 as we can. I'm happy with the color and the layout for now, so I'll go ahead and click OK, and then I'll add some text. So let's just choose some random letters here. All right, and now we have those letters there. We can even blow that up as well. And then I'm gonna change the font to make it nice and fancy. Allura looks good. I'm gonna make it a little bigger again. And then we can transform it. So we have these various options of kind of manipulating the image. Same as before, I'll go ahead and just choose this. You can even change the amount of the curve, which is pretty cool. Make it a little bigger again, make this a little bigger. All right, now we have our design. So if we're happy with that, we'll click save at the top right. We'll give it a name, leaf, and letters. Now we click done, and then this will take us right automatically to the transfer page. So we'll click transfer down here, click OK, and then we can go ahead and go to our machine now. All right, so as per the instructions, we were to click this button here and then this one, and we'll wait for the transfer to complete. All right, perfect. So now we have our design here. We can click into it, and then we click set. Now you do have a chance to further edit it if you change your mind about certain things, but I'm happy with what we did in the app, so we'll click on edit end. And then same as before, just click on embroidery. So we kind of skipped this step with the first example since there was only one color, but you will actually see the screen when you click on embroidery, and it's basically going to give you a rundown of the different colors. It'll even tell you how many minutes it'll spend on each color, so you can prepare your colors, know how long it takes, and then the progress basically will be shown up here. That's the number of stitches, how many minutes have gone by up here, and the color that you are on. All right, but I'm happy with our choices. I'm gonna go ahead and put the right color in. So that's gonna be like this dark orange, and then we'll click that stop and start button. All right, guys, so as you may guess, once it's done with each color, it's just gonna stop, and that's gonna allow you to change to the next thread color. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that now, and it looks like the next one is that reddish color. All right, next color is in. Let's keep going. All right, yellowish orange is in, and here's just a better view for you guys so you can see a little more clearly what's going on. That's 95% of the leaf there. All we have left is the outline and the lettering. So time for the last color change, and then we'll finish this project out. right, guys, this thing is done. Looks so good. So let's take that out. All right, so let's go ahead and just remove the hoop first. Okay, and again, you can just tear this off. All right, perfect, look at that. Look how professional that looks once we remove this jump stitch. Boom, you've got something that looks like you would have paid for or found in a store. Just look at the quality of that. Just super professional. All right, now you may be wondering if you can embroider things that don't naturally lay flat. So for example, hats, but as you can see, it is definitely possible. The key is making sure that the hat stays flat on the frame. So in this example here, I made sure to flatten out the brim, and then I went ahead and used that floating technique to be able to glue the hat onto the stabilizer. And you can even take it a step further like I did here and put pins around where you want the design to really ensure that the hat stays in place. If you can do that, then you are gonna be good to go. Okay, so I hope that helps you decide whether this is gonna be right for you today, but as you can see, it is a super capable machine. So if you're looking to get into embroidery, or if you just want a machine that can handle both embroidery and sewing machine, definitely look into this one here. As you saw in the app, you have tons of designs to choose from, so definitely check this thing out today.